Let's just jump right in. What if I told you that the very foundation of your daily reality is built on a massive, complex web of popular myths? Seriously, we walk through life making decisions, treating injuries, and even understanding our own biology based on facts that are absolutely 100% fiction. In today's Explainer, we're going to tear down the walls of this echo chamber and expose the wild truth hidden behind things you've probably believed your entire life. We're about to fundamentally reprogram what you think you know. Get ready, because the truth, it's way crazier than the myth.
Let's start off with a quick test of your biological hardware. How many senses do you have? You've probably been told the answer to this since you were in kindergarten, right? Sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. The classic five. Sounds completely normal. You probably didn't even hesitate before answering.
Well, false. You were lied to. That whole idea of the five senses, it goes all the way back to the philosopher Aristotle, and we have just been blindly repeating it for centuries without actually checking the specs of our own bodies.
The actual data here is wild. Scientists have identified at least 9 senses, and some researchers argue we actually have over 20. Let's break down what's really running in your operating system. Beyond those basic 5, you have the vestibular sense. That's your balance, the thing keeping you from falling flat on your face every time you stand up. Then there's proprioception. This is your body's spatial awareness of where your limbs are without looking. Like, if you close your eyes and touch your nose, that is proprioception in action. You've also got thermoception for sensing heat and cold, nociception for detecting pain, and interoception, which tells you internal statuses like when you need to breathe or when you're hungry. Honestly, if we only had 5 senses, simply walking in a straight line would be an absolute nightmare. You are a highly advanced sensor array, not a 5-tool toy.
Okay, here's another massive biological optical illusion. Take a look at your wrists right now. You see blue veins? So you've probably heard the myth that human blood is blue right until it hits the oxygen in the air. Yeah, that is entirely false. Human blood is never blue. Not in your veins, not in your heart, nowhere. It's always red. Bright red when it's loaded with oxygen, and a darker red when carrying less. So why on earth do they look blue on your skin? It's because blue light has a shorter wavelength. It scatters much more easily than red light when it penetrates your skin and bounces back to your eye. The idea that your blood turns red only when you get cut and it touches oxygen is pure fiction. Unless you're a horseshoe crab, your blood is always, always red. And this next one brilliantly illustrates how bad science becomes parental gospel. Wear a hat or you'll freeze. Most of your body heat escapes through your head. I mean, we've all heard it, right? It sounds scientific, like your head is some biological chimney blasting heat into the winter sky. But this myth was actually born from a heavily flawed 1950s military experiment where soldiers in freezing conditions wore full winter gear except on their heads. So of course they lost more heat there. It was literally the only bare skin exposed. The reality? Heat loss is strictly proportional to exposed surface area. Your head is only about 10% of your body. If you went outside completely naked wearing just a winter hat, you would still freeze in minutes. Moving on to Act 2, the Animal Kingdom Con. Let's tear down some Hollywood-driven animal facts. Everyone pictures camels as these walking canteens, using those giant humps as water tanks to survive the desert. It sounds super logical, but it's a complete mirage. Those humps don't hold a single drop of water. They actually hold up to 80 pounds of fat. It's essentially a portable energy reserve for when food is scarce. So how do they survive without water? Well, camels are just ultimate biological hydration machines. They can drink up to 40 gallons of water in one single sitting. Plus, they have these oval-shaped red blood cells that keep their blood flowing even when they're severely dehydrated. But the water hump? Pure Hollywood fantasy.
Next up, let's ruin the invisible ninja myth of the chameleon. We all think they seamlessly change colors to blend into a green jungle or a tan desert, but chameleons do not change color to vanish. They actually do it to communicate and to regulate their body temperature. Their skin is packed with special cells called chromatophores. If they're feeling aggressive, they flash bright colors. If they're cold, they turn dark to soak up heat. It's essentially a highly advanced mood ring and thermal jacket all rolled into one. Any camouflage that happens is just a happy accident.
And speaking of cartoon myths, we have to talk about the wise old owl. Ancient Greece made them Athena's mascot, and storybooks are always giving them reading glasses. But owls are not the philosophers of the forest. They are incredible, silent night assassins, driven by pure biological instinct, not a high IQ. If you want a real avian genius, you gotta look at crows or ravens. Crows can solve complex puzzles. They recognize individual human faces, and they even use passing cars to crack nuts on crosswalks. Owls? They just sit there with huge eyes looking deep and thoughtful, but mostly they're just scanning for a mouse.
64 billion. Take a second to process that massive number. You've probably heard the terrifying fact that the average human swallows 8 spiders a year while sleeping. You picture a spider crawling into your open, snoring mouth. It is pure nightmare fuel. But it's total nonsense. Spiders are actually terrified of a warm, wet, vibrating cavern full of teeth. Your breathing and heartbeat send them running for the hills. So where did the 8 spiders a year stat even come from? Well, statistically speaking, the only way the average is 8 per year is if one guy out there is eating 64 billion spiders a year just to mess up the math for the rest of us. The odds of swallowing even one spider in your sleep are virtually zero.
Let's get a bit more serious in Act 3, Survival Myths That Kill.
Because it's one thing to be wrong about bird IQ, but what happens when fake facts put your actual life on the line? This next myth could literally save you from agonizing pain. Picture this: you get stung by a jellyfish at the beach, and your friend heroically offers to pee on the sting. We've all seen it in the movies. Do not let them do this. Jellyfish stings happen because of tiny, venom-filled cells called nematocysts. Many of these stingers stick to your skin, fully loaded and ready to fire again. Depending on the salt and temperature, human urine can actually trigger these cells to release even more venom. You are just chemically angering the jellyfish ghost. The actual truth? Rinse the area with seawater, never fresh water, and then soak it in hot water or vinegar to break down the toxins.
Here's another myth that could get someone hurt. Never wake a sleepwalker, they'll have a heart attack or go into permanent shock. Listen, this is an ancient superstition. Waking a sleepwalker will absolutely not kill them, it just abruptly reboots their brain during deep sleep, leaving them groggy and super confused. The actual danger here is letting them aimlessly roam. Sleepwalkers can wander outside, fall down stairs, or even drive cars. Gently guide them back to bed if you can, but if you have to, wake them up. You might startle them, sure, but you also might save their life.
25. That is the number of times the Empire State Building is struck by lightning every single year. We love to use the dramatic phrase, lightning never strikes the same place twice, as if nature has this strict fairness policy. But lightning doesn't care about our metaphors. It simply takes the path of least resistance. Tall metal structures are practically begging for it. So if you are standing in a dangerous spot during a storm, do not rely on the fact that it just got hit to keep you safe. Lightning will absolutely strike twice just to prove a point.
Which brings us to Act 4, Historical Hallucinations.
So, how did these massive deceptions become so deeply embedded in our global consciousness? Let's trace the timeline of 2 massive lies born from clever marketing and wartime propaganda. First up, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. This was not a medical breakthrough. It was an 1800s marketing campaign. John Harvey Kellogg, the cornflakes guy, pushed this narrative just to sell cereal, and the food industry ran with it. Biologically, your body runs on accumulated energy. If you aren't hungry in the morning, skipping it is totally fine. That's literally the entire basis of intermittent fasting. And now look at the 1940s. Eat your carrots for night vision. Carrots have vitamin A, sure, but they are not going to give you glowing predator eyes. This was pure World War II propaganda. The British Royal Air Force developed secret new radar tech to shoot down German planes at night. To hide this technology, they told the press their pilots just ate massive amounts of carrots. The public swallowed the lie whole, and we are still repeating it to kids today.
So, what is the underlying thread connecting the fake 5 senses, the blue blood, the jellyfish pee, and the super carrots? It all comes down to this: repetition isn't proof. Consensus isn't accuracy. We suffer from massive cognitive biases. When we hear the same opinion or fact bounced off the walls of our societal echo chamber over and over, it just starts to feel true. Our brains love shortcuts, but just because everyone says it doesn't mean it's real.
We've just navigated a maze of manufactured truths and historical glitches. We've proven that the biology you were taught, the animal facts you loved, and the survival tips you trusted were heavily patched with bad code. The reality you live in is not a finished product. It's heavily influenced by the repetition of fiction. Most people still believe this. Do you?